Hello, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Now that we have been to Duna and finished the tech tree, I think it's about time to get to Eve. Now, some of the bureaucrats in the government aren't happy with Jeb's influence in the space program. So they've come up with a plan to get rid of him. You see, they proposed a mission to Eve's surface with a strict budget of 140,000. Now, they figured he wouldn't be able to resist the call of adventure, but he also wouldn't be able to get back. Well, we'll see if Jeb can make it back. I guess we'll see. So, let's launch. And I guess I'll describe the lifter as we launch, because it might take a little while. Unfortunately, this does have 191 parts, so I'm a little bit reluctant to time warp while I'm recording at the same time. So you can see there's 14 RT-10s in 2 clusters of 7, and there's 8 large solid boosters. On the back I have 4 tail fins for control. There we go. Drop the first boosters and just point prograde. I'm using these poodles for the second stage. And these adapters are quite nice, actually. They cost the same as a fuel tank of this capacity, and they also help with your aerodynamics. I think this is the first time I've used something with only solid on the first stage. I might have used something like that very early on. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess I did. I used something like 3 flea boosters and then a liquid engine on top of that. Well, that was just because we didn't have radial decouplers yet, I think. So, just to get a clean separation, I want to point prograde when these boosters run out here. And there we go. And we have a nice clean separation. Excellent. So I'm going to point down a little bit more. How's our APO looking? Time to APO is increasing, and that means we can continue to nose down to like 30 degrees or so. How's our altitude? 30,000. So aerodynamic drag isn't that big of an issue anymore. Now once these solid boosters run out, our thrust is going to go down dramatically. So we want to make sure we are still okay on our time to APO, and we are. So I'm actually going to throttle down here, like half. Just so this time to APO is decreasing. There we go, and we're just pointing prograde. I do like the ability to point prograde. I also like the ability to point at a target automatically, which I think Jeb can do. We also have remote guidance units. We have multiple of those. This is a fairly complicated craft. So our APO is getting a little bit on the high side. But, you know, that's okay. That's just how it is. So let's figure out the thrust to... Okay, that's increasing. That's decreasing. So I'm going to go at about half of what the thrust required to keep our time to APO constant is. And we might end up over 100,000, which is maybe a little higher than optimal, but oh well. How's our fuel looking? We still have a decent amount of fuel. I am drawing from these outer tanks first. As you can see, poodles on 1/3 thrust, well, they don't use a lot of fuel. They don't produce a lot of thrust either, of course. I could go ahead and blow the fairing. I'm not sure. We are certainly outside the atmosphere now. You know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and deploy the fairing. There we go. Fairing is deployed. I was a little bit worried about whether this would make the craft more wobbly, but we seem to be okay, considering we're just pointing prograde. That does help. Okay, so we're down to 40 seconds now. Let's throttle up all the way. And now it's still going down even at full throttle. But slowly. And we are over 100,000 for our APO, but once again, it's not that big a deal. And we're close to orbital speeds now. Still haven't run out of fuel on these outer tanks either. And the inner ones are of course full. So, now we can see the upper part. I have a heat shield, a mining unit, and then some of these tanks are empty. But we can get to that later. Okay, time to APO is increasing rapidly. Yeah. Now we just need to do a final circularization. Very close to orbital speeds now. And I'm trying to get into a relatively circular orbit. Because our APO is quite high. Okay, 85,000 as a parry, 102,000 as an APO. That should be fine. So how's our fuel situation? We still have a tiny bit left in these outer tanks. I'll go ahead and quick save. So what I'm going to do is pump these. This one's full, this one is not full. I'm going to go ahead and pump these outer tanks to our lander stage. And just time warp a little bit. There we go. That's 2 tanks down. No point in wasting the fuel we've hauled up to orbit. Okay, so these are empty. I'm going to quick save and ditch them. Okay, and there we go. And you know what, I'll just quick save again. Now then, we want to get to Eve. And I think we're actually a little bit behind schedule for getting to Eve. But, you know, I wanted to reach Duna first. That is, yeah, our intersect is still a little ways ahead. So, we have some time to get going to Eve before we have to deal with our ore hauler. Yeah, like I said, I think we're a little bit behind schedule, but we should still be okay. Now, since we want to drop our orbit, we want to go in the opposite direction that Kerbin is orbiting. Which means we want to burn roundabouts here. Now we're getting we're going to want at least 1,000 meters per second to get out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. So that is... yeah, that's not what we want, actually, this Mun encounter. Are we still time warping? No, okay. Just pull that. We want to be going a little bit more parallel with our Kerbin solar orbit here. So let's try this. Okay. Now, if we keep going a little bit more, we're not getting... okay, there's an encounter. Well, no, not an encounter, but we're quite close. Let's just pin this. That's going down. It's going down quite rapidly. And there's an encounter. Okay. Let's see if we can bring this down a little bit more. Okay, that's fine. That's bringing it up. Yeah, keep the parry pinned. That's... yeah, it's having no effect, basically. That's bringing it up. That's bringing it down and up. Okay. Well, here we go. A 1070 meter per second burn in 7 minutes. And this is probably going to be a fairly long burn. But I'm probably still just going to warp to next maneuver. Well, let's get on our target. Very convenient. Now that we've dropped those boosters, I can safely time warp a little bit. Get on our target. And just going to warp to next maneuver. You can take a look at Kerbin. There's our booster still slowly drifting away. And sunrise. Alright, let's get going. Warp to next maneuver. And I'm just going to start burning immediately. I could do multiple burns at the parry, but, well, I'm not. It's just, it's inconvenient, basically. So we're drawing from this central tank first, and you can see we're not using a ton of fuel. Yep. Very convenient to be able to follow the target, since that means we can just time warp. And we don't even have to touch the keyboard. We can have some delicious water instead of having to manage that. We're a little bit slow on the burn. Well, hopefully we end up matching the maneuver well enough. It's not going to be quite perfect. We will probably need to do an adjustment after our burn, but, well, that's okay. We do have plenty of fuel for that. Okay. And just cut off the time warp. Are you not following the target? Why are you not following the target, buddy? What is with this target following? Like, the blue marker is way over there, and this target... that's not supposed to be radial or normal. Okay. He's burning... Oh, he's not burning... Oh. Okay. Well, now we can set up our transfer maneuver. So we set his target, and we want to go against the direction that Kerbin is orbiting. Conveniently, our parry is in about the right place. And we're going to want maybe not that much. Okay, that's still a little late for our burn because we're going out a little bit too much. There we go. And maybe a little bit more. Okay, let's try this. And that's too much of a burn now. Let's start decreasing that until we're matching Eve's orbit a little bit better. Okay, and there is an encounter. There's an encounter there. 50 million? Let's just try and get this a little bit lower. So pin the parry. That's bringing it down. Still bringing it down. Now it's going up. 41 million? Okay. That's about as close as we seem to be able to get. About 42 million. But, well, that's okay. Actually, you know what? I wonder if we bring this down, like, a little bit closer to our parry. No, now we're getting a Mun encounter. Well, but maybe that's what we want. No, that makes it harder to calculate our orbit here. Okay, let's try this actually. Yeah, this is slightly more efficient, I think. And 56 million. But it's slightly further away. But, you know, that's okay. This is bringing it down quite a bit. And that's as far as we can go with that. Okay, so 1080 meters per second. And conveniently, our pilot here can automatically follow our maneuver. It's very nice to have an experienced enough pilot to do that. So we just follow this maneuver and warp to next maneuver. And I'll just start burning immediately. That may actually be too late, but oh well. There we go, full burn. And we're a little bit on the wobbly side, but it's not too bad. So I'm comfortable enough to time warp now that we've dropped some parts. Okay. I guess we can watch our orbit slowly expand. Maybe I'll have a drink of this delicious water, since I don't even have to touch the keyboard. Ah. Yep. Fairly long transfer burn. We're already past the maneuver node, so we may need to do a correction, but that's okay. We have a pretty decent amount of fuel if we check it out. We still have some in the central tank. Side tanks are still full. And we don't actually need this fuel in the top either. Okay. Well, since we're almost done, I'll end the time warp. And 10, there we go. Maneuver complete. Very nice. And as you can see, we will need to do an adjustment. Target position at closest approach is now 680 million instead of 50 million. But that's okay. Okay, well, let's go ahead and set up our correction burn. And it should be more efficient to do that before we exit Kerbal Sphere of Influence. So let's set up a node and pin our separation here. Now if we just burn prograde a little bit, we're bringing down our closest approach. There's a parry, 34 million, not too bad. And this is just a very small 17 meter per second burn. Can we get that any lower? Not really. Was it below 33,000? There we go. 17 meter per second burn. And we can just follow maneuver. And warp to next maneuver. Or maybe warp here. That'll get us a little bit closer. And it's just a very short burn. There we go. Alright. So now we are encountering Eve. Just quick save. With a parry of 32 million. And we can go ahead and set up another correction here at the descending node. Keep that parry pinned, and we're bringing it down here with a radial burn, or a normal burn rather, a sideways burn. So that's down to 23 million, that's bringing it up 19 million. How much of a burn is that? 162 meters per second. I don't know if this is actually the most efficient approach here. Yeah, it seems to be more efficient to burn a little bit later. There we go. There's a 9 million meter parry. 8 million. Yeah, 8 million. Sorry, the numbers are sort of dancing around and I can't see them that well. 8 million. 7 million. And this is even less of a burn. So, as we move this around, we're bringing down our parry even further up to a point. There we go. So, 5 million. 4 million? Just these fine adjustments. And there's 2 million. That is not bad at all. But we can get it lower. There we go. 500,000. That is a pretty close encounter. So let's just leave this maneuver here. And you can see the node is in 101 days. So we have quite a bit of time. So what I'm going to do is switch over to our ore hauler. And we can go ahead and do our Duna capture burn here. You can see our parry is in 28 days. I'm going to set up a small sideways burn to try and bring that down further. Okay, that's let me just check what it was originally here. So it's 616,000 now. And if we burn sideways, that's bringing it up. And that's bringing it up to, how about a normal burn? There we go, that's bringing it way down. Let's aim for like 83,000, there we go. And that's just a 0.9 meter per second burn. Just want to be very gentle. And, you know, that's plenty good. Do we have any solar panels extended? Yes, we do. Very good. So since we have plenty of time before we need to deal with our Eve lander, we can just warp to our Duna encounter here. Maybe go even faster. Okay, now let's warp. Okay. And our parry is still the same here. 91 or 92,000. Okay. Well, I've fiddled with the maneuver nodes a little bit, and I think I'm relatively satisfied with what I've come up with. It's not perfect, of course, but it should be good enough, considering we have, you know, a decent reserve of fuel. So first we have this sideways burn here. It'll bring us from going under Duna. You can see we fly around the pole here, and then this dotted line is just going around the side of Duna, which is what we want to get an encounter with Ike. Well, we already have one craft on a mostly polar orbit, that being our research station, of course. Let's try and be relatively precise with our burn. That's good enough, though. Okay. And if we just fiddle with this, how does this look? I mean, it was pretty good, wasn't it? Ike parry. 26. Well, this should be fine. This should be pretty much fine. So let's go ahead and warp to our next maneuver. It's a little bit after the parry, which is suboptimal from a capture efficiency standpoint, but you know, we're getting a encounter for free, which is nice. Maneuver in 8 minutes. So let's just warp a little bit further. I think at like 1 minute I'll start burning. Yeah, here we go. Let's start burning. Okay. And we have a burn of less than twice our time to the node. So I'm throttling down slightly just so we burn on both sides of the node more evenly. Just for slightly better accuracy. Although, you know, you can just do a correction afterwards. And it is really easier to do a maneuver and then a correction than to try to get things perfectly on the first try. Okay. And we can time warp a little bit. So we already have an encounter with Ike. We are just bringing our required burn to get an Ike capture down by burning more now. Okay. And we are now headed for a stable orbit of Duna. And just bringing this down to like 35, 30, 32, okay. And I'll go ahead and quick save here. Anything we want to do while we're over Duna? Crew report, maybe? I'm sure we already did everything we needed to with our research station, of course. All we need to do is get our ore hauler hauling ore. So let's just go ahead and warp into Ike's sphere of influence. And then we'll just burn retrograde at the parry, of course. There we go. Get it on the parry exactly. And you know, that's pretty much fine. How much is that? 337 meters per second. Okay. Is our ISRU still going? Yes, it is. Missing ore. Okay, so our ore tanks are now empty. How's our fuel looking? Our fuel is still mostly full since it's been refilled. Okay, very good. Now we just warp to our next maneuver. And we're just going to want to follow retrograde, which we can do automatically. Node in 1 minute. Well, we can get a little bit closer. I'll wait till like 30 seconds. There we go. Get on the retrograde, please, and full burn. I want to burn as close to the parry as possible because our parry is already quite low. I don't want to get a much lower parry than that. And we can just watch the orbits spin around. Very pretty. And I mean, this is fine. Really. We are going to want to land, so it doesn't really matter if we burn more now or not. But you know, this is fine, really. And here we are in a stable orbit of Ike with a parry of 31,500, 31,700, and we'll want to land on this at some point and do our ore contract. Extract ore from Ike and deliver it to Duna. Well, might as well do it now, I guess. Yeah, let's just... Well, no, wait. We have an ore scanner, don't we? Yes, we do. We should do our scanning first. But we need to be in a... Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, and we have tons of ore everywhere. It doesn't matter where we land. So you know what? Just burn retrograde. Just burn retrograde and get us to the surface. And this pink is getting a little bit ugly. Let's toggle the overlay off again. Okay. And since we're coming in for a landing, quick save and add a maneuver at our landing site or impact site, as the case may be. And just get on this target here. Node in 4 minutes. Well, that's plenty of time. Okay. And actually, let's just burn retrograde instead of trying to match an exact landing site. We can go ahead and get down to, say, 100 meters per second. And now we need a new node. Node in 1 minute, 20 seconds. Okay. Well, let's just speed up a little bit. And now we want to burn relatively hard, I guess. So we're coming in for our final approach, basically. There's the sun. So there's our shadow. Okay, that was a little excessive, maybe. Our fuel situation is still looking perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So there's our shadow down there. We can just watch that. And keep on coming down. Relatively flat area, fortunately. Get rid of that maneuver node. And 20 meters per second, that's plenty. Slow. And keep on coming down. Okay. This is not the most efficient approach. It would be much better to just do a gradual slow burn. Or, you know, one stronger burn at the end. Okay. Here we go. And let's just come down at like 5 meters per second. Well, there we go. That was slower than we even needed to be. Hopefully we will stop sliding at some point. We're just sort of sliding along the surface here. Excuse me, will you... Could you stop, please? 0.1 meters per second. I don't know why it's so slippery. I guess we are on a slope, but still. It's not stopping. Okay, well, time warp. There we go. And we have finally stopped. Excellent. We have sunlight, so we can get to mining. Extend radiator. Extend all our radiators. If I had upgraded the building when I built this craft, I would have set up an action group for all these drills, but I wanted to do one big final upgrade and research at the same time. We don't even need to run all of these. 6 drills was a bit excessive, wasn't it? And just start ISRU. Solar panels and radiators are all extended. And, you know, might as well start all 6, just for the sake of symmetry. Okay, and we have landed on Ike. We're harvesting ore. Excellent. Let's just send a crew report for no real reason. Because we can. We have a seismometer too. And a gravity scanner. And a barometer and a thermometer. Yeah. Well, we don't need more science, but it's just the principle of the thing. Maybe there's a milestone for data from Ike. So, electric charge is fine. Everything is good. Let's get back to the Space Center. Actually, the tracking station. And let's go back to our Eve lander. But, you know, this is getting a little bit long. I might end the episode here and do our Eve capture in the next episode. So, Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.